I'm Tim Bradner. Welcome to Capitol Views. It's a special year this year, 40th anniversary of the operation of the startup of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline and the flow of oil from the North Slope that has brought our state a lot of benefits. So really happy to be here today with the special guest, Admiral Tom Barrett, President of Alyeska Pipeline. And Admiral Barrett, how has it been that we've been able to operate the pipeline very successfully for 40 years? I mean, it's a piece of machinery that requires maintenance and operation, and
sure,
we've done pretty good with it.
Yeah, it's a fabulous piece. I think part of the reason, Tim, is, and I'm delighted to be with you, and in Juneau too, it was brilliantly engineered. You have to start with that. It's a fundamentally brilliant piece of engineering. You're crossing 3 mountain ranges, 34 major streams, 500 plus streams, but the design of the line, the seismic, so if you see a lot of pictures of taps in pictures, most pipelines in the lower 48 are below ground. We're half above and half below, mainly for seismic or permafrost, but we had 70,000 support members, right, holding that line above. And they're patented. They were first of their type in the world. The line itself is heavy steel. But the success starts with the engineering, both of the pipeline and the terminal operation. And then I call it Alaska True Grit. You've had people with a lot of pride in our operation, Alyeska employees, a lot of contract employees. They have a lot of TAPS pride in what they've done, and they do things that other people can't do. We had a small leak in 2011. In order to get that repair done, we had welders, mainly out of Fairbanks, did 30 field welds in 30 below conditions to put in a bypass. Every one of them passed inspection the first time. There's not many workforces in the world could do that. So you fundamentally had a brilliant design, a lot of smart, talented, capable people who drive at excellence. We have a very strong safety culture, a strong environmental culture, a strong conservation culture, but it's really the people. And I had a woman outside our Fox Visitor Center one time. I was up there to look at some new signage, and she was standing over holding her hand up under the pipe. And so I walked over to say hello and asked, and she says, "Oh, I hope I'm not in trouble for touching the pipeline." And I said, "Oh no," and there's a big sign there. It says, "Please don't climb on the pipeline," but you can access it there. And there were 2 boys standing on the road with an older gentleman, but I just said, "What are you doing?" And she was up from Oregon with her 2 children, but her dad, who was deceased, had worked on TAPS. And she said the conversations around our dinner table were all about his work in Alaska and on this pipeline, and I just felt I needed to touch it and show his grandchildren where their grandfather had worked. And I think that type of pride and attachment, and because it's founded on an understanding that what we do every day and how well we do it, I think everybody understands it matters to everybody in this state. But there's a lot of companies out there, and very few of them operate with that level of attachment to the fundamental mission, which is moving that oil safely. And at the end of the day, it's the people.
What do we do to keep the pipe, to keep it sound?
Sure.
Steel is steel. Can it deteriorate? I mean, machinery can.
Sure, it's a constant level of effort. Within crude oil streams, you have some amount of water, not much, and you have paraffin, wax. So your 2 major threats are paraffin falling out of the stream and adhering to pipe walls, and then water setting up underneath it. You can have external corrosion too, but mainly internal concerns us. And then water, again, can kind of snowflake out if it's cold enough, and that's why the winter, the icing is a risk for us. But we run pigs regularly. They're pipeline scrapers, basically a scraper that scrapes the walls clean. And then if we identify an area where corrosion is starting to set up, and we run those more than the regs require. We run inspection tools down there every 3 years. The regs would require every 5 years. But when we find something, we'll typically go in and repair it. And typically on the main line, it's a big line. It's a sleeve. So we'll go in and do a dig if it's underground, or if it's above ground, we'll put a steel pipe and weld it tight and repair it. And that's been going on for the past 40 years. But that's a constant. We've constantly got to be attentive to that. We do a lot of solid engineering on a regular basis, but that kind of risk is always there. Permafrost, the support members, we've got to watch and make sure they're stable. We've upgraded over the years. We've upgraded the pumps. Major pumps have been replaced. They're now variable speed drivers, which helps us deal with the fluctuations in the throughput. We've taken out pump stations we don't need, and we call it straight lining. But when the line was built, if you recall, there were, I think, 11 or 12 stations. We're running with 4. So
Yeah. We're running 3/4 empty, though.
we are.
So
And, yeah.
it was 2 million barrels a day we moved in
Yeah.
19.
Yeah, so that's like your car is designed to run really well at 40 or 50 miles an hour down the highway, and if you drive it at 20 miles an hour, it starts to clunk along, and you're working with soot, and it's backfiring. That's taps at 1/4 capacity. We're just like a car that's running at its least efficient speed. So we have to compensate for that, and we do. We, for example, with the declining flow, we adding a lot of heat. We have added recycling at 4 of our pump stations, so pump station 3, 4, 7, and 9.
And that means recycling the oil through pipes.
Through the pipes at the station with additional loops and getting friction. It's friction heat. We've installed RGV, where we added remote gate valve 65 fired heaters. So we run a loop off the main line, slipstream, heat it up, and then put it back in to keep that temperature up. It comes in the line at about 105 plus up there at pump station 1, and then drops off substantially in the winter as it flows down. So we're adding that heat to keep that temperature up. That temperature is a lot lower. When Prudhoe first started up, it was probably coming in around 140.
Yeah, I think fundamentally we need more oil in the line. That would solve a lot of problems.
It would solve an enormous amount of problem for us. It's because the line is designed to handle a lot more oil. That's when it's most efficient. And you don't have the same, it moves faster. So the line is always full of oil, right? You know that. And it's the rate at which it flows. So when it started up at construction or right after that, it took about 4 days for a barrel to move down to Valdez. Today it's 17 plus. So it's exposed to the cold in the winter that time when it's up north, but it's slower, and so cleaning it means more precipitation of wax, more precipitation of water, more need to pig the line more often to keep it clean. And that's kind of so the simple direct solution for a lot of it is just more. That's what it's designed to handle.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, thank you for joining us. It's
Glad to
been
be with you,
interesting.
Tim.
We're looking forward to another 40 years.
So am I, and so is everybody who works on taps.
Well, thank you, Admiral Barrett.
Thank you, Tim.
And thank you for joining us, Tim Bradner with Capital Views.